Hola mi gente, ¿cómo están? Aquí me llamo Alba Mar, me pueden decir Alba, el canal se llama Serial, estamos aquí para hablar de libros, algunos de ellos en español desde Puerto Rico. Hello, how are you doing? My name is Alba Mar, you may call me Alba, the channel name is Serial. We're here to talk about books and some of them in Spanish from Puerto Rico, and I'm back. Yes, November has been a very busy month. Not only was it nonfiction November, but this is the season when friends and family from the diaspora come down to visit, and first things first, which are not things, but people. So I figured that now that my daughter is gone, she's on a plane right now flying over the ocean towards New York City, I'd film the video that I owe for November while I wait for her to text me that she's arrived safely home. Okay, I did finish 4 books for November. Some of them nonfiction and some of them not. Now, the first book was No Friend But the Mountains by Behrouz Booshani, the journalist and Kurdish Iranian journalist and poet. I was so moved by this book that I filmed a review of it that I will link down below in the description box. It's important to point out, as Jen at Remembered Reads said in a comment on that video, the comment section, that Booshani has a 1-month visa and that he must leave New Zealand before the month is up, and it is uncertain where he will go. So I will link that down below. Then for Mel at Mel's Bookland Adventures Gone with the Book event, which is to read a book that was published during the first half of the last century, I had the Puerto Rican novel La Llamarada by Enrique Laguerre, which was first published in 1935, and it's about a young agronomist on his first job at a sugar plantation in Depression-era Puerto Rico. The author, Enrique Laguerre, is very highly respected. He's a literary figure, and his work is considered classic in our canon. Right, but to me, it seemed very dated, despite the unmistakable fact that a lot of the economic conditions described in this novel still persist, if not with sugar, with other commodities. I tried to remember as I read that this was Laguerre's debut novel, and it shows. The protagonist is conflicted between his empathy for the sugarcane workers and his first job as a manager at this large sugar corporation. So the novel improved for me as the main character became more self-aware of his feeling of conflict, right? But that didn't make the novel any better for me. If someone can convince me of its literary value in the Puerto Rican canon, as the prologue in this edition attempts, then I may read it again someday. But Then, as a buddy read with Heidi at My Reading Life and Doris at Aldi Books, I finished Almost a Woman by Esmeralda Santiago, which is the second part of her memoir and follows Negi as she enters her teenage years and graduates from high school and starts working at odd jobs while attempting a career in acting. Again, Esmeralda Santiago writes with a lot of humor, a lot of warmth and feeling about what it was like to come of age between two cultures and try to forge an identity under those circumstances. I enjoyed it, although, frankly speaking, my mother radar was triggered as she started dating. I'm not going to lie about it. Yeah, I was very worried about her. And voila, I finished The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, which was not a nonfiction book, but a read-along with Dee Dee at Brown Girl Reading. And if you've been following me, you know that one of my favorite nonfiction books is The Black Count by Tom Rees, about Alexandre Dumas' father, and as it says in the front cover here, the real Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah. This was such a fantastic book. So I was naturally drawn to read. I jumped right on board when Dee Dee said, "Oh, we're going to read The Count of Monte Cristo." I was not expecting to be completely swept along by this book. I could not put it down. It was thrilling, suspenseful, moving, just superb, superb. The revenge story por excelencia. As Alan Morton said in one of his videos, his review of Dumas' The Last Cavalier, it was as if the Count of Monte Cristo was a superhero at times. I learned so much about France during this period of history, and it was completely and utterly immersive, and I loved it so much. There's going to be a live, I think, this Saturday later on tonight, and if I'm not asleep, then I will certainly tune in for that. Now, back to my nonfiction November TBR. I have these rolling over into December. They're Mel White's The Stranger at the Gate, which I am halfway through. This memoir is about a Christian pastor's coming to terms with being gay. The foreword is written by the woman who was his wife of 25 years, the mother of his 2 children, and his work partner, Lila White. I'm looking forward to finishing it soon, getting past the very painful years of his being in the closet, struggling to accept his homosexuality, and at the same time keep his family and his marriage intact. This is a very, very honest book. And I'm about 40% through into Wild Swans, which is a buddy read with Mary and Ryan. Now, Chinese history has always fascinated me, and this memoir spans a period of extreme changes in China, starting at the start of the last century with the grandmother here, which is Yu Feng, who was sent by her father to be the concubine of a warlord because she was a young beauty with bound feet. Oh my God. And then De Hong, which is the mother of the 3 swans of the book, the memoir. She was born of that relationship with the warlord, but when the warlord dies, the grandmother escapes with her little girl back to her home, alone with her child on her little bound feet. Can't imagine the pain. The little girl, De Hong, grows up in a China that's rapidly changing and in the grips of civil war, later won by the Red Army. I'm now at the part where she's become a member of the Communist Party along with her husband and has started her own family, among them the author of the book, Jung Chang. That's where I'm at right now. Also rolling into December is Raymond del Mal from Harlem, Puerto Rico, in Spanish, about the renowned and our beloved Puerto Rican basketball player. I'm at the part where Raymond has been playing sports all throughout junior, high, and high school, but on the streets of New York City because they wouldn't let him on the varsity team until his last year, and only because he was recommended by teammates who had played with him on the streets and knew how good he was. I can't wait to read about the part where he gets to Puerto Rico and compare his experiences with my own. And then, last but not least in the nonfiction, is the Park Chunghee Era, The Transformation of South Korea, edited by Byung-Koo Kim and Ezra F. Vogel, of which I've read 170 pages. Now, what I find interesting about this book is that it was published in 2011. Apparently, it was written as an anniversary book of the 1961 military coup. And as a matter of fact, the first chapter is dedicated to the military coup of May 16, 1961. That's the title of the chapter, the May 16th military coup. And that chapter is written by a professor at the Korea National Defense University. I guess there is a National Defense University in Korea. So each chapter in this book is written by a different set of professors, team of professors or a single professor, mostly from universities in Korea, about the figure of Park Chunghee and how he managed to remain in power while changing Korea's economy during his dictatorship. I know that if I could finish The Count of Monte Cristo, I can finish not only this book about Park Chunghee, but all the other ones that I have shown you as well. And I have another book for Gone with the Book, and that's La Familia de Pascual Duarte by Spanish author Camilo José Cela, which was published in 1942. In this book, the main character, Pascual Duarte, in a letter, apparently tells the story of his life as he nears the end of it. It's a hard, difficult, violent description of his life. But I'm noticing that there are parts here, little snippets of hope and dignity in here. But it was very difficult. It was shocking at first. And I understand now why this book was banned for 3 years in Spain. So, that's the end of November. And thank you for watching. I want to welcome the new subscribers. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if I can, I'll include a little clip of the concert that we went to with our beloved singer Danny Rivera, who still has a beautiful, clear, strong voice after all these years of singing lovely Puerto Rican songs, in this case, La Danza. So, take care, people. Keep on reading. Cuídense mucho, mi gente. Adiós.
Tu vives en so my